Aaron stepped off the shuttle and felt the warm, dusty air of the small human colony brush against his face. He had traveled far from the central cities to help repair the colony's energy system. The settlement was quiet, with small houses built from metal and glass and winding paths that glowed softly at night. It was not the kind of place most people would call exciting, but to Aaron, it felt full of possibilities. As he carried his tools down the narrow streets, he noticed a girl sitting alone on a hill just outside the colony. She had long, dark hair that swayed in the light breeze and a notebook resting on her knees. Her eyes were wide and bright, reflecting the first hints of the evening stars. She seemed lost in thought, sketching constellations with careful strokes. There was something about her that made Aaron pause. People in the colony whispered that her eyes held stardust, a sparkle that no one could explain. Aaron shook his head and smiled. He was not usually the kind to notice people like that, but he felt an unusual curiosity. He wanted to speak to her but did not know how. Instead, he focused on finding the energy hub where he was assigned to work. The hub was a small metallic building at the center of the colony. Inside, the energy systems hummed and flickered, waiting for attention. Aaron immediately began inspecting the circuits, checking every wire and control panel. The work was demanding, but he enjoyed the feeling of problem-solving, of fixing something that kept the colony alive. Hours passed quickly. Just as he was finishing his first round of inspections, he heard a soft voice behind him. "Excuse me, are you fixing the energy system?" Aaron turned and saw the girl from the hill standing at the doorway. She held her notebook tightly and her eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. "Yes," he said, smiling. "I'm Aaron, and you are?" "I'm Mira," she replied. "I was watching the lights flicker earlier. I thought someone should check on it." Aaron nodded. "It's good you noticed. This system powers almost everything in the colony. I'm glad you care." Mira stepped closer, her curiosity evident. "I like understanding how things work. And the stars too," she said softly, opening her notebook to show her sketches. Constellations spread across the page, drawn with careful lines and tiny notes. Aaron's eyes widened. "These are amazing," he said. "Do you study the stars often?" "Every night," Mira said with a small smile. "I like imagining what's out there beyond our colony. Sometimes I wish I could see more than just the stars above us." Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. Here was someone who saw the world differently, who dreamed in a way he understood. "Maybe we can work together," he suggested. "I can help with energy and you can show me the stars." Mira's smile grew, and for the first time Aaron noticed how her eyes seemed to sparkle in the dim light. "I'd like that," she said. Just then a sudden surge of power made the lights flicker violently. Alarms beeped across the room and sparks flew from one of the circuits. Aaron moved quickly, his hand steady as he adjusted the panels and rerouted the flow of energy. Mira watched closely, fascinated by his skill. "Be careful," she said, worry in her voice. "I've got it," Aaron replied, concentrating. After a tense few minutes, the alarm stopped, and the lights returned to a soft, steady glow. Mira clapped lightly, relief and admiration shining on her face. "You're really good at this," she said, her eyes bright with awe. Aaron laughed softly. "Thanks, but I couldn't have done it without you noticing the problem." "You have sharp eyes." Mira's cheeks turned slightly pink. "I just watch. I don't fix." "Watching is important too," Aaron said gently. "Sometimes noticing the small things can prevent big problems." As evening fell, the two of them stepped outside together. The sky was a deep blue, sprinkled with thousands of tiny stars. Mira pointed at a constellation and explained its pattern, her voice soft and steady. Aaron listened, fascinated. He realized that this was more than just a chance meeting. Something about Mira, her curiosity and the quiet stardust in her eyes had already begun to change him. For the first time in a long while, Aaron felt a sense of belonging. Maybe this quiet colony with its simple paths and endless stars would be more than just a workplace. Maybe, just maybe, it could be the beginning of something extraordinary. The next morning, the colony was bathed in soft golden light. Aaron arrived at the energy hub early, carrying his toolkit and a small notebook. He had been thinking about Mira all night, the way her eyes sparkled like tiny stars and how she spoke with quiet wonder about the universe. He wanted to see her again, but he was unsure if she would want to spend time with him. As he rounded a corner, he spotted her sitting under the shade of a large tree near the main plaza. Mira's notebook was open on her lap, and she was sketching the energy towers that spread across the colony. Aaron approached slowly. "Good morning," he said softly. Mira looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Aaron. Are you working here again today?" "Yes," he replied. "I thought I could finish inspecting the main circuits before the technicians arrive." "Do you want to join me?" Mira hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I can watch and learn. Maybe I'll understand your work better." They spent the morning together, Aaron explaining the energy system while Mira sketched diagrams and made notes. She asked questions with genuine curiosity, and Aaron found himself impressed by her intelligence and attention to detail. Every time she tilted her head or paused to think, he noticed the faint sparkle in her eyes, the same sparkle that had drawn him the night before. At noon, the village bell rang for lunch. Mira invited Aaron to eat with her near a small garden of glowing flowers. As they shared simple bread and fruit, their conversation shifted from work to dreams. "I've always wanted to build a telescope that could map the stars we haven't seen yet," Mira said, her eyes distant as if she could already see the constellations she dreamed of. "That sounds amazing," Aaron replied. "I've never built a telescope, but I love helping create things that can reach farther than we can." "Maybe I can help you." Mira looked surprised. "You'd help me?" "Of course," Aaron said with a small smile. "We both like understanding the universe. Why not do it together?" Mira's smile widened, and for the first time her eyes seemed to shine even brighter. "I'd like that very much," she said. After lunch, they walked to the edge of the colony where the land stretched out into hills and valleys. Mira showed Aaron her favorite spot to watch the stars at night. The place was quiet and open with a perfect view of the sky. "This is where I come when I want to think," Mira said. "No one else bothers me here. It's just me and the stars." Aaron nodded, feeling a calmness he hadn't felt in a long time. "It's beautiful," he said. "I can see why you love it." The afternoon passed quickly as they brainstormed ideas for Mira's telescope. Aaron sketched mechanical designs while Mira added notes about the angles and distances needed to capture the stars. They laughed when they realized some of their ideas were impossible, but they never stopped imagining new possibilities. As the sun began to set, Aaron noticed how Mira's face glowed in the fading light. She seemed so small and delicate against the vastness of the hills, yet her energy and determination were powerful. "You really love this, don't you?" he asked softly. "I do," she said, looking at him. "The stars. They make me feel like anything is possible, and working with you makes it even better." Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. He wanted to say more, to tell her how much he admired her, not just for her dreams, but for the way she saw the world differently, the way she made him see it too. But the words stayed in his throat. Instead, he smiled and nodded, letting the moment linger. As darkness settled over the colony, Aaron and Mira stayed together under the first few stars that appeared in the sky. Mira pointed out constellations she had drawn, and Aaron listened, captivated by her knowledge and passion. The quiet between them was comfortable, filled with a growing understanding and connection. Finally, Mira packed her notebook and turned to Aaron. "Thank you for today. I didn't expect to have so much fun learning about circuits and energy systems." Aaron laughed softly. "I didn't expect to enjoy sketching stars either, but I did." Mira smiled, and for a moment neither of them spoke. They simply watched the stars together, feeling the first threads of friendship and something more forming between them. Aaron realized that the colony, the stars, and Mira were all becoming parts of his life he never wanted to leave behind. And as Mira's eyes reflected the starlight, Aaron understood why people called them stardust eyes. They held hope, curiosity, and a quiet magic that was impossible to ignore. The colony was buzzing with excitement. It was time for the annual Festival of Lights, a celebration to honor the stars and the history of the settlement. Every year, lanterns were hung across the streets. Pathways glowed with soft light, and families gathered to share food and stories. This year, Mira and Aaron were asked to help set up decorations. Mira's eyes shone as she carried strings of tiny glowing orbs. "I can't believe how many lights we have this year," she said, smiling at Aaron. "It will look amazing," Aaron replied. "The whole colony will sparkle tonight." They worked side by side, hanging lanterns from poles and arranging glowing crystals along the paths. Aaron noticed how Mira's careful hands moved with precision, how she stepped back to look at each arrangement with a thoughtful gaze. Every time she laughed, a small warmth spread through him, like the soft glow of the lanterns around them. "Here," Mira said, handing him a lantern. "Be careful, they are fragile." I'll try not to break it, Aaron said, taking it and smiling. The sun began to set, and the lanterns were lit one by one. The colony transformed into a sea of golden lights reflecting off the walls and casting soft shadows on the ground. Children ran along the paths, giggling as they waved small glowing sticks, and families gathered in the central square to watch performances and music. Mira and Irene walked through the lantern-lit streets, enjoying the sights and sounds. At one point, Aaron accidentally brushed Mira's hand while handing her a lantern. They froze for a moment, glancing at each other with shy smiles. The touch was brief, but it made Aaron's heart beat faster, and he noticed Mira's cheeks turning slightly pink. You always notice everything, don't you? Mira said softly, breaking the silence. I try, Aaron replied, smiling. It helps me understand the world. And sometimes people too. They continued through the festival, talking about stars, inventions, and dreams. Mira showed Aaron a small device she had built to measure the brightness of the lanterns. Aaron was impressed by her cleverness and encouraged her to improve it for the telescope project they were working on together. As night deepened, a storyteller gathered the children and began to tell tales about the stars, constellations, and the explorers who had traveled far beyond the colony. Mira and Aaron found a quiet spot on a small hill overlooking the square. They sat together watching the twinkling lights below and the stars above. The stars feel closer tonight, Mira said, her voice calm and thoughtful. They do, Aaron agreed. It's like the sky is smiling down on us. A gentle breeze blew, rustling the leaves around them. Aaron looked at Mira, noticing the way her eyes reflected the lights from the lanterns mingling with the natural starlight. He wanted to tell her how he felt, but the words seemed small compared to the vast sky above them. Instead, he reached for her hand. Mira's fingers brushed his, and she didn't pull away. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching fireworks explode above the square, painting the night sky with colors and light. When the fireworks ended, Mira turned to Aaron. Thank you for helping me today. I really enjoy being with you, she said quietly. Aaron felt his chest tighten in a warm, happy way. I enjoy it too, Mira. More than I expected, he said, his voice soft but sincere. They stayed on the hill for a while longer, pointing out constellations and imagining distant worlds. Mira's head leaned slightly toward Aaron, and he felt the connection between them grow stronger. For the first time, he realized that this quiet girl, who loved the stars as much as he did, was becoming someone important in his life. As they finally walked back to their homes, the lantern still glowing behind them, Aaron felt a quiet excitement. The festival had not only celebrated the stars, but had also brought them closer together. In the gentle glow of the lights, he understood that their bond was more than friendship. It was a connection that felt like it had been written among the stars themselves, and Mira, with her bright, sparkling eyes, seemed to carry a piece of the universe within her, a piece that Aaron knew he wanted to explore, carefully and patiently, for as long as he could. The days after the Festival of Lights were bright, but Mira felt a quiet worry in her chest. A shipment of advanced equipment had arrived from a nearby colony, and the technicians were here to help with new projects. Mira worried that her telescope project might get delayed or even overshadowed. She spent long hours studying the equipment, making notes, and trying to incorporate the new tools into her plans. Aaron noticed her concern immediately. He watched her from across the plaza, seeing the way her brow furrowed as she worked. He wanted to offer help, but Mira was focused, almost distant. He decided to give her space, though he felt a small ache in his chest every time he saw her so serious and worried. One afternoon, Aaron approached Mira near the edge of the colony where the hills began. Mira, do you need a hand with anything? He asked gently. Mira shook her head, eyes fixed on her notebook. I'm okay, Aaron, I just need to focus. There's a lot to figure out. Aaron nodded, understanding her need for concentration, but he could not hide his disappointment. He had hoped to spend more time with her, to continue sharing ideas and laughter like before. As he walked away, he felt a quiet frustration. He worried that Mira might see him as just a friend, or that the new technicians would become closer to her than he could ever be. Meanwhile, Mira noticed Aaron's quiet distance. She felt uneasy too. She liked him, more than she realized, but she didn't want to distract him from his work or appear dependent on him. She thought he might be losing interest, and a small, uncomfortable tension grew between them. That evening, a sudden storm rolled over the hills. Dark clouds filled the sky and strong winds whipped across the colony. Mira had been outside trying to protect her sketches and notes from the rain. Sheets of paper threatened to fly away in the gusts, and she struggled to hold them down. Aaron, passing nearby on his way back from checking the energy circuits, saw her. "Mira!" he called, running through the wind toward her. She looked up, startled. "Aaron, the storm, my sketches!" Without hesitation, Aaron grabbed the flying papers and held them securely in his arms. Mira ran to him, laughing nervously despite the chaos around them. "Thank you. I thought I lost everything." "You're welcome," Aaron said, smiling. "Come on, let's get somewhere dry." They dashed to a small shelter near the edge of the colony, dripping wet but safe. The rain fell heavily around them, and the wind made it impossible to speak loudly. They sat close, sharing the warmth of their bodies against the chill, and Mira realized how much she had missed Aaron's presence. "I'm sorry," she said softly, finally speaking. "I didn't mean to ignore you, I worry about my project and I don't want to distract you." Aaron shook his head, his hair plastered to his forehead. "You could never distract me." "I just thought—" "Maybe you didn't need me anymore." Mira looked into his eyes, seeing the gentle concern there. "I always need you, Aaron," she whispered. A long silence followed, filled only by the sound of the rain pounding on the shelter. Aaron reached for her hand, and this time, there was no hesitation. Mira held it tightly, feeling a sense of comfort and understanding she hadn't felt in days. "Whatever happens with the telescope," Aaron said, "we'll figure it out together. I'll help however I can." Mira's eyes sparkled, reflecting the raindrops and a hint of starlight that peeked through the clouds. "Thank you, Aaron. That means more than you know." The storm began to ease and the first stars appeared in the night sky. Mira and Irene stepped outside, feeling the cool air and watching the clouds drift away. The tension between them had melted, replaced by a renewed sense of trust and connection. For the first time in days, Mira smiled freely, and Aaron felt the same quiet joy he had felt during the Festival of Lights. They had faced doubt and distance, yet the bond between them remained strong. Under the first clear stars of the evening, they walked back to the colony together, hands brushing lightly, knowing that they were beginning to understand not only their dreams, but also the feelings growing between them. The days after the storm were bright and calm. Mira and Aaron had returned to their routine, but there was a quiet change in the air. Their bond had grown stronger, yet neither had fully spoken the feelings that had begun to bloom in their hearts. Both were afraid of ruining the friendship they treasured, but the pull between them was undeniable. One evening, Mira stayed late at her workshop, surrounded by sketches, telescopes, and glowing instruments. Aaron arrived with a small lantern, the soft light flickering across the walls. "Still working?" he asked, smiling. "Yes," Mira replied, a hint of shyness in her voice. "I want to make sure the telescope is perfect." Aaron placed the lantern beside her and sat down. "You don't have to do it alone, Mira. I can help." Mira looked at him, a soft smile forming. "I know, and I appreciate it. More than I can say." They spent the next few hours working side by side. Aaron adjusted the telescope's angles while Mira checked the calculations. Their hands occasionally brushed, and each time a spark seemed to pass between them. Words remained unspoken, but the quiet moments were filled with understanding. Finally, Mira stepped back and surveyed their work. "It's done," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "I can't believe it actually works." Aaron looked at the telescope and then at her. "You did all the hard work. I just helped a little, but—" "Mira, I want to tell you something." Mira turned to him, curiosity and a hint of nervousness in her eyes. "What is it?" Aaron took a deep breath, his hand slightly trembling. "From the first day I saw you, I felt something special. Your eyes, your curiosity, they drew me in. And over these days I've realized that it's more than friendship for me. Mira, I care about you, more than I ever thought I could." Mira's breath caught. Her heart raced as she looked into Aaron's eyes. She had felt the same, but fear had held her back. "Aaron, I feel the same," she said softly. "I was afraid to say anything, but I care about you too. More than anything." A quiet smile spread across Aaron's face. Slowly, gently, he reached for her hand. Mira held it, feeling warmth and comfort in the touch. The room seemed to glow softly, filled with the light of the lantern and the quiet magic of their shared moment. Aaron leaned slightly closer. "I've wanted to say this for a long time," he whispered. I want to be with you, Mira, if you'll let me. Mira's eyes sparkled, reflecting both the lantern light and the stars outside the window. I want that too, Aaron, she said, her voice steady despite the excitement in her heart. They moved closer, their foreheads touching for a brief moment, sharing the silent understanding that had been growing between them. Then carefully they shared their first gentle, meaningful kiss. It was soft and unhurried, full of the promise of new beginnings and the deep connection they had nurtured over weeks of shared work. Laughter and dreams afterward. They sat together, hands still intertwined, watching the night sky through the open window. The stars shone brightly and Mira whispered, "It feels like the universe is smiling at us." Aaron laughed softly. "Maybe it is. We've been patient and now it feels right." For the rest of the evening they shared stories, ideas, and quiet laughter. They spoke about the telescope, about the constellations, and about the worlds they dreamed of exploring. Every word, every glance strengthened their bond. When it was finally time to leave, Aaron walked Mira to her home. The streets of the colony were quiet, the lanterns casting a gentle glow along the paths. They paused near the edge of the plaza, not wanting the moment to end. "I'm glad we finally said it," Mira whispered. "So am I," Aaron replied, smiling. "And I promise, we'll face everything together." "The stars, the projects, everything." Mira nodded, feeling a deep happiness she had never known before. "Together," she echoed. Under the soft glow of the lanterns and the watchful stars above, they shared one last gentle touch before parting for the night. Both knew that this was only the beginning of something extraordinary, something that would grow as beautifully as the stars themselves. And in that quiet moment, Mira realized that her stardust eyes had not only reflected the universe, but had also found someone whose heart shone just as brightly. The following weeks were filled with excitement and quiet determination. Mira worked tirelessly on her telescope, carefully adjusting lenses and calibrating the instruments. Aaron was always nearby, offering help, advice, or simply company. The bond between them grew stronger with every shared task, every small laugh, and every glance that held unspoken understanding. Finally, the day came when Mira's telescope was ready. She had worked long hours, but the result was breathtaking. The telescope was larger than any the colony had seen, and designed to capture the faintest glimmers of light from distant stars. Mira could hardly believe her own eyes as she prepared to test it. "Are you ready?" Aaron asked, standing beside her with a proud smile. Mira nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness in her chest. "I think so. I hope it works as I imagined." Aaron adjusted a few final settings while Mira aligned the telescope toward the sky. The first images appeared on the small viewing screen, a field of stars more detailed and beautiful than anything the colony had ever seen. Mira gasped softly. "It's perfect," she whispered. Her eyes sparkled, reflecting the faint light of the stars captured through the telescope. Aaron reached for her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You did this, Mira. I just helped a little. You should be proud." Mira smiled, feeling a deep warmth in her chest. "I couldn't have done it without you, Aaron. You believed in me when I doubted myself." Together, they began documenting the distant stars, mapping patterns, and noting unusual light formations. The telescope revealed a nebula that no one had seen before, a swirling cloud of colors and shapes that seemed almost alive. Mira's heart raced with excitement, and Aaron shared in her joy. "This is incredible," Aaron said, his voice filled with wonder. "We're seeing something no one else has seen." "Your telescope made it possible." Mira turned to him, her eyes glowing with happiness. "We did it together," she said softly. As the night deepened, they stepped outside to gaze at the stars directly. The telescope rested nearby, capturing the wonders of the universe, but Mira and Aaron were content, simply looking up at the night sky. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" Mira asked, her voice quiet but full of curiosity. "All the time," Aaron replied. "I think about new worlds, new discoveries, and new possibilities for us." He glanced at her and she met his gaze with a gentle smile. They sat together on a small hill near the telescope, hands intertwined. The universe stretched endlessly above them, stars twinkling like tiny promises in the dark. Mira rested her head on Aaron's shoulder, feeling safe, happy, and inspired all at once. "You know," she said after a while, "I used to think the stars were just distant lights. Now I realize they're reminders. reminders that we can reach farther than we think, that we can create and dream and love. Aaron nodded. And sometimes the people we meet along the way make the journey even more special. He squeezed her hand gently. Mira smiled, a soft blush coloring her cheeks. I'm glad I met you, Aaron. And I'm glad I met you, Mira, he replied, his voice full of sincerity. They shared a quiet moment, watching as the nebula in the telescope seemed to shimmer in the night. The beauty of the universe felt even more profound because they were sharing it together. Each star, each flicker of light seemed to celebrate their accomplishments, their dreams, and their growing love. Before heading back to the colony, Aaron suggested, "Let's show this to everyone tomorrow. The whole colony should see what you've discovered." Mira hesitated. "Do you think they'll understand? It's so much bigger than anything they've seen before." "They'll understand because you made it, Mira. They'll see your passion, your talent, and your dedication, and they'll see how amazing you are." Her eyes softened and she leaned closer to him. "Thank you, Aaron, for believing in me, and for being with me." Aaron smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Always," he said simply. As they walked back to the colony under the glow of the stars, both felt a quiet joy and excitement. The telescope had revealed distant wonders, but what truly mattered was the bond between them. They had faced doubts, worked together, and now shared a love as vast and inspiring as the universe itself. And as Mira looked up at the sky, she realized that the stardust in her eyes was not just in her own gaze. It was reflected in Aaron's, in the telescope, and in every dream they would continue to explore together. Time passed in the colony, and life continued its gentle rhythm. Mira's telescope had become a celebrated achievement, admired not only within their settlement but also by neighboring colonies. Children would gather around her to learn about the stars, listening with wide eyes as she explained constellations, nebulae, and distant galaxies. Aaron continued his work with energy systems, helping the colony grow and thrive, but he always found moments to be with Mira, sharing in her excitement and dreams. One evening, as the sky painted itself in soft shades of twilight, Mira and Aaron walked to their favorite hill overlooking the colony. The air was warm, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Lanterns from the village below glimmered like tiny stars, echoing the real stars beginning to appear above. "Do you remember the first time we watched the stars together?" Mira asked, smiling softly. Aaron nodded. "How could I forget? That was the night I realized how extraordinary you are." Mira laughed lightly. "And I realized how patient you are, standing by me even when I worried about the telescope and everything else." They sat together on the grass, their hands intertwined, gazing upward. The stars shimmered above, familiar yet endlessly mysterious, each one a reminder of the adventures and discoveries they had shared. "I sometimes think about how far we've come," Aaron said quietly. "From the first day we met to now, everything feels brighter, better. Like the universe itself is celebrating us." Mira leaned her head on his shoulder. "It does feel like that. And I feel safe and happy with you, like anything is possible if we're together." A shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a thin trail of light behind it. Mira's eyes sparkled as she whispered, "Make a wish?" Aaron smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't need to. I already have everything I want right here." Mira's heart warmed. She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the stars above. "Then I wish for us, for our dreams and our future, together." They sat in comfortable silence, watching meteors cross the sky and the soft glow of the village lights below. It was a night of quiet celebration, a night that reminded them how far their dreams had carried them, and how much further they could go together. In the following weeks, Mira and Aaron began teaching the colony's children about the stars, sharing their knowledge, inventions, and stories. The telescope became a centerpiece of learning, inspiring curiosity and imagination in every young mind that gazed through it. Aaron helped organize small projects, encouraging teamwork and creativity, while Mira shared her passion for the universe. Together, they became a symbol of collaboration, discovery, and love within the colony. One clear night, Mira and Aaron returned to their hill, now a special place filled with memories. Aaron reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, glowing crystal he had been working on. "This," he said, handing it to Mira, "is a reminder that no matter where we go, No matter what we face, we'll always find our way back to each other. Mira took the crystal, holding it carefully. It's perfect, just like everything we've built together. They sat for a long time watching the stars, their fingers entwined, feeling the quiet magic of their connection. The universe stretched endlessly above them, filled with possibilities, adventures, and uncountable stars, just as their love stretched endlessly, growing brighter with each passing day. As the night deepened, they made a promise to explore the world, to reach for the stars and to always support each other, no matter how far they went, no matter what challenges came their way. They knew they would face them together just as they had from the very first day. And under the brilliant sky, Mira's stardust eyes reflected in Aaron's gaze, a mirror of hope, courage, and love. Their journey was far from over, but they knew that as long as they had each other, the universe was theirs to explore. The colony below glimmered with light. The telescope gleamed softly in the distance, and above them, the stars shone like 1,000 tiny promises. Mira and Aaron held hands, hearts full, ready to face tomorrow, to chase new dreams, and to live their lives together, forever inspired by the beauty of the universe and the stardust in her eyes. In a quiet village on the edge of a human colony, a young engineer named Aaron arrives to help upgrade the colony's energy systems. He notices a girl, Mira, who often sits under the stars sketching constellations in her notebook. Her eyes seem to hold a spark of something beyond ordinary. People whisper she has stardust in her eyes. Aaron is drawn to her quiet curiosity, but struggles to find the courage to speak. A sudden energy surge in the colony forces them into the same workspace, giving Aaron a chance to meet Mira. They talk briefly about the stars, and a gentle connection begins. Aaron and Mira start spending small moments together, repairing machinery, watching sunsets, and talking about the universe. Mira shares her dream of designing a telescope that can map uncharted stars. Aaron, inspired by her vision, begins to sketch ideas alongside her. Their bond grows as they learn each other's hopes and fears. Villagers begin to notice their closeness, whispering about how Mira's eyes shine brighter when Aaron is near. A minor accident with the colony's energy grid threatens Mira's project, and Aaron steps in to help, showing his growing care for her. The colony holds an annual festival of lights to honor the stars. Mira and Aaron volunteer to set up decorations and light displays. Amid the sparkling lanterns and glowing paths, their friendship deepens, and both begin to feel something more than friendship. Aaron accidentally brushes Mira's hand while passing her a lantern, and they share a shy, lingering smile. That night, Mira looks at the stars and quietly wishes for Aaron's happiness, not realizing he wishes the same for her. The festival ends with fireworks, leaving the two of them lost in thought under the sparkling sky. A shipment of advanced equipment arrives from another colony, and Mira worries she won't be able to finish her telescope project. Aaron feels conflicted too, wondering if Mira sees him as just a friend. Misunderstandings grow when Mira spends long hours with the visiting technicians, and Aaron begins to pull back. Both are silently hurt but afraid to speak. One night, a sudden storm hits the colony. Aaron finds Mira outside trying to protect her sketches, and the two take shelter together. The storm creates an intimate moment, forcing them to confront their feelings and fears. After the storm, Aaron helps Mira repair her sketches and telescope plans. He gathers courage and tells her how much she means to him, confessing that her stardust eyes have drawn him to her from the start. Mira is overwhelmed with emotion but admits she has felt the same. They share their first gentle, meaningful kiss under a sky filled with stars. Their bond strengthens, and the villagers notice the pair growing closer, inspired by their shared passion for the stars and each other. Mira completes her telescope with Aaron's help, unveiling a breathtaking view of a distant nebula no human had ever seen. Their joy and teamwork inspire the entire colony, showing the power of collaboration and human determination. Aaron and Mira share quiet moments gazing through the telescope, feeling connected to the universe and to each other. They dream of exploring new worlds together, understanding that their hearts are intertwined just as their ambitions are. Time passes, and Mira's telescope becomes renowned across the colonies. Aaron continues to innovate and help other settlements, but he always returns to Mira. Together they teach young children about the stars, telling stories of courage, curiosity, and love. One evening, under a brilliant meteor shower, Mira and Aaron make a promise to continue exploring life and the universe side by side. Their love, like the stars, shines brightly, stardust in their eyes forever.